Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon One Pickups.
Hey, it's me, Todd Novak. We are so happy to have you with us tonight. We are getting ready to have an awesome evening with somebody very special on the line.
Hamish Haines, Southampton Pedals.
That is correct. Southampton Pedals. We've mentioned them a couple times. I've spoken about a few of these pedals, and we're going to find out what his story is and how he came to produce these little jewels. We are coming to you from Columbus, Ohio. Beautiful downtown Columbus, Ohio. And I'm not saying that in a facetious way. I really do love this city. It's pretty great.
It's not bad.
Yeah, it's great. I've lived in a lot of cities, and this is one of my favorites. It happens to be where I live, so I got to make the most of it. Anyhow, and Hamish, where are you coming from tonight?
I am in Guelph, Ontario, which is about 45 minutes west of Toronto.
Guelph.
Guelph.
Could you spell that?
It's Guelph.
Wow.
I
would
never
have never guessed that.
Don't ask me where it comes from.
That's weird. Sorry.
Good
Guelph
elf.
is great. I spent a weekend one night in Guelph.
Seemed like a month.
All right, you nerds, let's do this. Hey, like I mentioned, everybody, super happy to have you with us. We are enjoying our guitar week so far. Hope you are too. Whatever you're doing, if you're driving to work, be cool to everybody. Be tolerant. Just be tolerant in general.
And obey the speed limits.
That's the only way you're going to get through anything.
Please obey the speed limits.
Exactly.
No, screw that. Speeding's fun. But anyways, I didn't say that. Sorry. Be safe. I did not advocate any kind of recklessness.
I think you did.
All right.
That was Todd.
We just got to throw out a couple things real quick, everybody. I do want to mention our friend Julie Z at Custom Ink. I'm just really thrilled with their customer service. She's hooking us up with our awesome T-shirts. So we have those in stock now, and I think I'm going to be setting up an easy way to get those. You can get them at our site right now, but it's, I guess it's not as easy. It's not top of mind. So I'm going to try to make it a little bit more top of mind, so they say.
Why don't you give them your home address so they can just swing by your house?
I will not do that. So anyways, thank you so much, Julie Z. She's been just absolutely awesome to deal with over at Custom Ink. Check them out, customink.com. Hey, you guys, we are ankle deep into 2018 already, but realistically, we know that NAMM is really the guitar world's New Year's. And coming off of that, Reverb has put together their 5 emerging guitar trends to look out for in 2018. And I will just say, having read those and looked at them, what goes around comes around. I'm just going to leave it there. 5 trends. What goes around kind of, we'll say, comes around.
Wasn't that a song in the 80s?
Yes. I'm not going to go into detail. You have to go find that out for yourself. So head on over to reverb.com, click on the tone report, which is most of the news section, and check it out. And look for a wildly colored pretty guitar, and you'll see it. So anyways,
I hear this year's trend is a custom pickguard on guitars.
It might be. We also want to give a humongoid thanks to Rode Microphones for sponsoring our show and allowing us to record our thoughts, opinions, and general nonsense on the Rode Procaster series microphones. These things are awesome. They make fantastic microphones for music too. I've used them in bands and for singing, and they are fantastic. So
along with the hardware as well. I mean, it's awesome.
A1
the whole
quality
setup.
stuff. It's really good. So designed and built entirely out of Sydney, Australia. Check them out at Rode on the internet. RODE, not ROAD. That road will take you nowhere. Just leave that up. Anyways, dudes. Shall we get into what's going on this week? I think so. Tony.
Oh, this week, I was in touch with...
Whoa, careful.
What, are you all right?
I was telling you.
Oh, okay. Oh, I get it now.
He always craps on everybody else's segments.
Yeah,
I never do. I never do. I never do.
Jeez.
I don't.
Nothing happened this week.
Go ahead.
No, I was in touch with another company up in Canada, Eastwood Guitars.
Oh,
yeah.
And we've done some things back and forth over the years, but they just put out their version of a Rickenbacker 5002 mandolin.
very cool.
Electric mandolin. And I mean, this thing, it looks incredible. I talked to Mike briefly about it, and other Eastwood things that I've seen come through have all been top notch. So we worked out a deal. He's going to need some guards down the road. I would like to have one of these, so I'm going to, in the next couple of weeks, have one show up at my doorstep.
Wow.
Why not?
I've never played a mandolin.
I had
Really?
one.
No.
It's like upside down. It's
I
like an
tried
upside
to in the
down guitar.
kitchen grating cheese, and it cut the crap out of my fingers.
Oh, you can do that. Be careful with the mandolin slicer.
Especially if the strings are super old.
Yeah.
Yes, watch out for the slicers.
Right.
So anyhow, that was kind of fun and exciting that happened this week.
Is it like
And,
sparkle or something ridiculous?
No. It's like a cherry burst or a fire glow, as we would say in the world of Rickenbacker.
Right.
But it's a cool
Jared
shape.
would say, so I got this mandolin and I painted it purple metal heavy flake because I like flake.
Hey, man, you're talking my language.
You speak my language. So anyhow, we'll have a full report on that particular instrument. I'm not a mandolin player myself. I have a couple of the Fender electric mandos that came out a while back. 4-string and an 8-string. And I can.
You need a picture of you playing one of your other guitars with the mandolin.
Wow! I think we should get a picture of Jared playing the mandolin.
Why not?
Hamish, in case you, I mean, I know that you've listened to the show for a while, and we do reference this, but Jared basically scrapes his head on the ceiling, so he plays teeny tiny guitars. And he's got
very good,
enormous hands and bodiness.
Yeah.
But we still love him.
I eat too much.
Yeah.
You eat just enough.
Yeah. Hamish, what's going on in your world, buddy?
Yeah, so I had picked up a Vox AC4 to take to trade shows, something that's pretty portable, sounds good. And I thought, why not try plugging this in with my main amp and doing some stereo stuff? And it is awesome. It is so cool. I've got the Empress Echo system, which does 2 delay engines at the same time. So I've got them running to the 2 amps that I split across the room, and it's super cool. I haven't played a song in 2 weeks. I've just been like hitting notes and bathing in the noise. It's so good.
So are you, did I hear you right that you plugged it into a different cabinet, or are you just using the speaker that's in the AC4?
I'm using the AC4 as one of the amps and the built-in speaker. It's the 12-inch version.
Right.
And then my main amp is a Supro Comet, which is a 10-inch speaker.
Okay.
And the two of them together sound great.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm glad because some of the times that I've seen heard some of the AC4s that have that small, probably 8-inch speaker, and they just don't sound very good at all. But
I had bought one of those.
Yeah.
Sorry. And it was good, but yeah, there was some bits that were not really inspiring. So I sold it on our version of Craigslist and got the hand-wired 12-inch version, and it's amazing.
Awesome.
So what is the Canadian version of Craigslist? It's
called Kijiji, and it's owned by eBay.
Oh.
And it's like, it looks exactly like eBay, but it functions kind of like Craigslist, and it's pretty good.
It's interesting.
No casual meetups though. Is there a pretty robust, I guess, market for gear on the what's it called? Gigi? It's called Kijiji. It's not great. There's a lot of listings, but you don't get a ton of sales. But we've got a really good online forum like the Gear Page called the Canadian Guitar Forum, which is, I probably sold or traded like 150 pedals through that site.
Wow.
Wow.
Killer. I love doing that. I am totally addicted to Craigslist. It's stupid. And I'm totally addicted to...
It's always fun to see what else is out there. And I mean, most of the time it's nearby.
Yeah, it's nearby. And it's also one of those things like you really start to get a feel of what not to get.
Yes.
The more you see something on Craigslist, the more it might be a good idea not to get it, maybe.
But of course, if you need something more with, like with a national coverage, you'd probably want to look at like Reverb or something.
Correct. That's what I would do. Yes.
Okay.
J-Rod.
All right. So not too long ago, I had some water in my basement. And
so just real quick, can you elaborate on this? Allow me, will you? Would you mind?
Sure.
I get a call from Jared from NAM, and I'm super jealous that I wasn't there with him. And I get a call, and it's been a couple of days, and it's like, we've talked, and I was like, geez, it must be going great. And he calls me up, and he's like, hey, I'm at NAM. I'm like, yeah, I know. He says,
I got water in my basement.
And I said, oh, that sucks. How's NAM?
It's exactly what he said.
Yeah.
And that's when it happened, and that's what yanked me out of Anaheim, out of that.
You went to NAM
show.
for one day.
One day of NAM. Now I did meet Seymour, and I explained that the last show. But anyway, so my wife called her friends over the night it happened, and I wasn't home yet. I flew home the next day, and he is a fireman, and he's a captain, and so he looked at my shop, and he replaced the sump pump because that was the culprit, of course. And he looked at some of the ways I had my electric hooked up, and it was unsatisfactory. So last week I had a very good friend of mine, Eric, and he came over and we totally did the electric in my shop, and also in my guitar playing area. We did all the electric, and took forever, but he was great, and
this is riveting. Keep going.
Yeah, I know. It's not really instrument related, but it was in the shop, and there's instruments in my shop.
Right.
So
more importantly, did anything get damaged in the water?
there were one guitar, my Harmony Meteor. It got some water on the bottom of the guitar, and the wood expanded a little bit, and the
what'd you do with it?
I think it was poly or lacquer. I don't know if it's poly or lacquer. It's acting like it's poly because it you could tell that it bubbled off and it shrunk back, but it's not adhered to the wood anymore in some areas. So it's got that milky cloudy look.
Yeah.
Does it still play all right though? Yeah.
Yeah, it's still fine, but I'm thinking about having it refinished to like a sunburst instead of
just get a sticker.
It looks like baby puke burst to me. I don't like the finish that's on it.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe something in a nice spark.
We went from water in the basement to having the Meteor refinished.
Black, man.
That's not a bad idea either.
Serious. We should like
just spray paint it in the garage.
Well, no, don't do that. But yeah, just
black.
paint it black. That'd be cool. And then you could wear it off, and someone would be like, "Dude, there's a burst under here."
Whoa!
Make sure both
baby puke burst.
Make sure both cars are in the garage when you do that too.
Yeah, for sure.
And not have any ventilation. So what's up with your guitar week, man?
So Jared, what's up with your week?
Water.
Well, I in my constant rearranging of pedals and making room for new things and whatnot,
yes, he is the Velcro spokesperson.
I did order new Velcro. I did have to do that, and I got it off of Amazon too because Pedal Trains is kind of expensive to do. So I ordered some on Amazon, but that's not what I did. In my rearrangement, I got one more that is now permanently in place. So whenever I find one, I'm like, look, this one's never leaving the board, at least in the near future, especially for my gigging purposes. I broke out the Three Monkeys solderless cables,
nice.
Which are flipping awesome. just absolutely killer product.
Yeah, I remember when we talked to those guys about that.
Yeah. And I had a little bit, I thought that I used all,
or did you just use the audio?
I just used the audio because the power I had daisy chained within my One Spot Pro. So in order for me to get 7 pedals on, I had to do that. So anyhow, the CS6, the one that goes underneath the pedal board. So that's what I did. And that's always fun. I love doing tinkering business and junk, and it's good stuff. Because I don't have a business where I do the tinkering and stuff. So all you guys who do the tinkering and stuff for your work, you're like...
Yeah, I think I'm going to change that from Pickguardian to tinkering and stuff.
Tinkering and stuff,
yeah. So anyhow, that's my little guitar week so far.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you know what time it is?
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
All right, so number 1 is a pedal out of Canada. It's the Diamond Compressor. It is not a super squishy compressor, but it's one of those always-on tone enhancers that is perfect. It's got 3 knobs. One's compression, which I generally don't touch. I have it maybe 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Then it's got an EQ, which can be totally flat or can really drastically change the EQ on your guitar, which is great if you want to be a little brighter or a little muddier. And then the third knob is a volume, and it can cut or boost. So it's really good switching between like humbuckers, single coils, going from a guitar with really weak output to one with really strong output. And you'll think it's doing nothing, and then you'll turn it off and it makes you sad. It's got a, I think part of it's just that it's when it's on, it acts as a buffer. So you have it at the front of your chain, and it gets all the high end content from your pickups, and it just makes you sound better. So that's never going anywhere.
Now, do you use that for live purposes or for just playing at home? All the time.
Yeah, both. So it's on my gigging board. I also have it because my personal pedal board here usually has about 12 pedals on it. You need something buffered at the front. So I have it on all the time, just right at the front.
Interesting. I still haven't been able to commit to a compressor on mine. For some reason, I know I might be wrong, and we've talked about compressors a lot. Had a whole show on compression, but I've just found that when I get to it, like especially if I show up at a gig, I don't have like a tech or anything like that, so every room is different, and fiddling around with that, I'm like, you know what? I just turn it off. And then now I don't even use one anymore. But not because I don't want to, it's just because I don't want to mess up the tone that I know I'm going to have without messing it up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I have the compression set very low on it. I'm not huge on compression, but this is a different sort of compressor.
Right.
I don't know if it's something about the circuit. It just sounds great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. I don't think I've heard of that brand. Tony, are you familiar with that?
No, that's one I haven't heard of.
Is it?
Diamond makes some really good stuff. They're in just outside Halifax, I think. They just released, you'd probably, if you knew anything, it would be their memory lane delay.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that.
Yeah, and they just re-released this year at NAMM. They had a prototype for their Memory Lane Junior Deluxe, I think. I might have messed that up. But their Memory Lane is totally analog, and then their Memory Lane Junior is digital, but it sounds killer for a digital delay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to look into them a little bit more. And Diamond, if you're listening, give us a holler. Tony, you were going to say something about compression real quick.
Yeah, I mean... in a live situation, and even in studio too, I think it's a moderate amount of compression can go a long way.
Oh yeah.
I have a couple of compressors that I use, especially with Rickenbacker's, is a jangle box, and now the jangle box, I you can go pretty heavy on the compression, but I tend to it's probably 50% or less or whatever. And all that really does is it helps if you're hitting the strings a little lighter, it brings them up the volume. If you hit something
Really?
too loud, it squishes it a little bit.
I always thought it was more of a, if it's too loud, it just kind of harnesses the
Well, that would be a limiter.
peak.
That would be a limiter, which is a different type of pedal, but it's half a compressor.
I need a limiter because I rock it so hard. What's up? I don't even know.
Oh, you're dreaming.
Okay, anyways, number 2. Go.
Okay. Number 2 is a pedal I've actually never owned, but I've built a couple of clones of for me and some friends. So apologies to Mike at Analog Man, but the King of Tone Overdrive. And the reason I chose the King of Tone is that it's A, a killer overdrive, B, 2 overdrives in one pedal because it's got 2 foot switches, and C, it's also a distortion and a boost. So I really was thinking about what 4 pedals could I make as my complete board, and the King of Tone is probably the most versatile overdrive I've played in a single box. It's based on, I believe, the Marshall Bluesbreaker. Or Blues Driver, I guess. No, that would be Boss. Anyway, whatever it's based off, it's a pretty heavily modified version, I believe, and it just sounds killer with every guitar I've put through it.
Wow.
That's cool.
Now, this is, I want to make sure I got this right. This is an actual King of Tone or
I would take an actual one if I could, but I don't have one.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought I heard. You said it was a DIY version of it,
Are they
right?
available or are they're
rare?
rare?
Yeah, you can get them. There's a wait list. They're pretty expensive, but honestly, based on the build quality, I've had a couple of their other pedals, and the sound totally worth the cost. They're built like tanks, and they have really good. He's got a good reputation.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you'd probably be in the
3 to 4
high 300s. Yeah.
Okay.
One of those pedals that is always very highly coveted and sought after for sure. Excellent. What is your favorite guitar to play out of that?
My favorite guitar to play into that would be
rather.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work well when you go into the output.
All right, you jerks.
Is the guitar the pedal or?
All right.
My very first guitar is a heavily modified made in Mexican Strat, probably around 2000, and I got pretty lucky with the neck. It plays well and it's held up. Literally everything else on it's been replaced. But it just is the sound that I hear. That on the neck pickup is how I like to play.
What color is it?
It is, I believe it's called Lake Placid Blue. It's like a kind of metallic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's got that early 2000s Mexican finish so thick on there that you're never going to wear down to the paint.
Right.
Some would think that would be a downside.
Yes. I would agree.
I like Lake Placid Blue though. So.
Yeah.
Right on. What you got for number 3?
Number 3, I'm going to go with another Canadian brand, and I already mentioned it, but the Empress Echo System. This is their delay that I think they released last year at NAMM, and it is just super versatile. It's got, I think, 15 different modes, and then each mode has maybe 2 or 3, 4 sub-modes. So easily 30 to 40 delay engines.
It's basically an effects processor that you have on your the floor.
But it's small. It's about the size of an extra wide pedal with another 50%. So it's smaller than a Strymon thing. What I like most about it is it's got the 2 delay engines, so you can run one into another. You can run them series or parallel, and you can run one to the left output and one to the right output.
Oh,
Interesting.
Plus, it's got delay, some modulation, and reverb. I'm sure people have delays they like more, but in terms of being able to get all these different types of sounds, like it's got a DMM mode, and it's got, old tape, and then tape that's extra old, and then old tape with pristine tape. It's kind of crazy.
disintegrating tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always curious to know, I guess from a pedal, one of these days I'm going to say pedal builder the first time and not say Petter builder. I swear, every time I say that, that's what I say, Petter builder. From your perspective, I give you from your perspective as a pedal builder. Look,
Gertie.
If I say, look, here is an echo pedal. Or if I say, oh, look, here is a delay pedal. Where are you drawing the distinction?
That's a good question. I'd say Echo, in my mind, has one repeat, and it's generally going to be a fast repeat, whereas delay would have more than one repeat, potentially oscillation. I would think that an Echo pedal wouldn't have tap tempo almost ever, whereas a delay pedal would probably have tap tempo or at least control over time.
Some of these Echo pedals really are, if you took the word Echo off and you had it side by side, you'd be like, oh, this is just a really versatile delay pedal. Or, or vice versa, And
I think, if you look at something like the pedals based off the Echoplex, that might be part of the the root of the problem right there, is that we've got a system that wasn't an Echo system, was maybe more of a delay.
Alrighty, number 4.
Okay, this is a pedal that I've bought 2 or 3 times, and I keep getting rid of it for some reason. It's the Earthquaker Devices Zap Machine.
Oh.
And it was a limited run that they then re-released, and then I think it's done for good. But it's like a dual overdrive, but it's one overdrive with 2 functions. So it's got 2 foot switches, and it's, I believe, 2 transistors, germanium. And then on the low gain side, it's like really overdrivey, but kind of chewy and, almost like a fuzz. And then on the higher gain side, it's really it's like a distorted fuzz. It's not quite a fuzz, and it's not really a distortion. It's kind of somewhere in between. But it's super fun. You put it through like an AC, like a Vox style amp, and it just is so chewy, and it sounds great.
I love that description, although my SEO hates it.
So you wouldn't have the Tone King and this thing on at the same time then?
You could. It takes, if you had the King of Tone in boost mode into this, you could get pretty cool. I don't think every time I've put something pretty already, like something with a lot of gain already into the Zap Machine, it just kind of maxes out.
Right.
It hasn't been great, but if you hit it with a low boost, you could definitely accentuate different frequencies, or you could get it to get a little bit higher gain. And when I say gain, I mean distortion, not volume.
I got you.
What made you buy it a couple times?
First time was the artwork and one demo video by Mike Hermans. And that was when I was like really into flipping pedals. And I bought it. I really liked it. And then there was a couple other pedals I wanted to trade for. So I got rid of it and I missed it immediately. So I bought it again. And then I think that was right about the time when we started to really up our production here at Southampton. So I started getting rid of some of my collection to fund the company, and also because I was finding I was building more stuff that I liked playing, and I just wasn't using as much of the collection I have. But if I was putting together a board of 4 pedals, I think I'd put it on there.
Now, there are, correct me if I'm wrong, are there 2 versions of this?
Yeah, the first version I think is a silver enclosure, and I think it's just got 1 foot switch.
Yes, it has 1 foot switch and it has 2 less knobs, I believe.
Yeah.
So if you're out there, sorry, I was off mic. If you're out there looking for this, you're going to see 2. One is looks like mint green, and one is silver. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's either mint or a seafoam. That's the version 2. And I think what they did is they took version 1, they added in another transistor, biased it differently, and then the second foot switch lets you switch between the original mode and this rebiased different transistor, just to get kind of 2 different gain characteristics.
I just found a pedal I gotta get.
It's so good.
I love, because this is making, okay, there's 2 reasons here. So I got quiet because like I feel the power. I feel the surge.
Overclamped.
Because it has 4 lightning bolts.
Oh.
And I love lightning bolts. And it's got two versions of some fuzztastic chewiness, as you said. I'm really excited about it. I got to get my hands on one of these. I'm going to cry.
If you do get one, a little pro tip, I actually set my high gain side lower and the low gain side higher.
Ooh.
And you get this really cool, with the high gain side, you get a really cool rhythm tone that's like, it's fuzz, but it is articulate enough or like has enough definition that you can play power chords or even some open chords with it.
Right.
And then the lower gain side actually does a really clear lead tone.
Wow, that's
with a very good noise floor, like almost nothing on the low gain side.
That's cool. You just kind of described the Benefuzz that I've been using from Nerd Knuckle. It is fuzzy enough to remind you that this is not no original gain pedal, but you can totally rip power chords on it articulately. Just like I said it, articulately. That's cool, man. Oh, I'm excited about that now. I gotta find one. Super fun board. What kind of board do you use, by the way?
Right now, I'm using one kind of like custom wood board from a guy at Maple Rock Pedal Boards, which is just outside Guelph. And he makes really cool stuff. Really nice looking, like in a lacquered tweed finish. Mm-hmm. And for trade shows, I'm using a Temple board by Temple Audio out of, I believe, Saskatoon, somewhere in Saskatchewan.
Canada bringing it. Gee, many Christmas.
And Temple boards are killer because they're the lightest pedal board I've played. And with the mounting plates, taking our board to NAMM.
Oh, yeah. Those pedals aren't going anywhere.
Exactly.
Not so good if you are switching pedals in and out a lot like me.
Yeah. And I can't imagine it's great if you want to try a pedal for a day and then sell it.
Yeah.
Because it takes about, 20 minutes, half an hour to get the residue off.
Yeah.
Back.
Yeah. Well, and they're all the positioning and getting the chords. I mean, if you have a pretty permanent feeling setup, like these are my pedals, this is the sound of the band, then for sure a Temple board is an excellent way to go. But man, there's so many great board builders out there right now. We're talking to one or two that I'd like to try to get on the show, actually. So anyways, let's get on with it. Thank you for your 4 on the floor, bud.
Oh, no problem.
So we have been playing around with these pedals that you so kindly sent out to us. And I've mentioned them several times on the show, and did a little video on it on Instagram. If you guys haven't seen that video and want to see some of the pedals we're talking about, check out our Instagram. Did a little, I like to do the little box opening thing, kind of fun. And we have in front of us the utility knife, the Ictinio. Yes?
There you go.
Is that a blimp or a submarine?
It's a submarine.
It's a Subnablimp.
There you go.
Excellent.
And then we have the fuzz.
Actually, if you hold it sideways, it looks kind of like a Dalek from Doctor Who.
What a nerd. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, anyway, so we have Boosted Fuzz, Ictinio, and the utility knife. So we're just going to talk about these real quick, kind of go through them. We've been referencing them a little bit, but I'd like to hear your take on them. And then I'd like to get into your sort of story, where you've been, how you got here, and what's next for you. Can you enlighten us on the utility knife?
Yeah, so I am not a huge fan of modulation. I like it in small amounts, but when I started really collecting pedals, I was finding bigger and bigger modulation pedals with kind of way too many controls for my taste in modulation. And I've been trying to get to a smaller board for gigging and just, having a chorus pedal and a phaser and a this and this and this that I turn on for a couple songs. Just wasn't helping my setup at all. So we thought, why don't we choose some popular modulation? We'll make the controls as dead simple as possible. So we'll just put on level, rate, and depth. We've got tremolo, coarse, flange, and phase. We're going to develop them so they all sound good with the controls at noon. If you want to tweak them, you can, but you could go to a gig with everything at noon and you'd be good to go for modulation. So that was kind of the design philosophy there.
Yeah, and I like the simplicity of this one. I think it's real easy to dial in. Really good sounding. I think we tried primarily probably the trem and the chorus, but the other settings or the other choices were pretty good too. But it is. It's a nice, clean, simple, easy to use pedal.
They're not extreme. I think it's safe to say that with either any of those individual effects, you're not going to get the radical ends of those that you would in something that is dedicated to that type of effect. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I kind of meant about the giant modulation pedals. Like I at one point had a phaser that I think had 9 knobs on it, and it was crazy. It was so good,
right?
But it was silly. So yeah, we kind of went. There's a bunch of companies out there doing really cool stuff with modulation right now. Mm-hmm. But there's not really anyone in the boutique space that's doing like a super pared down basic modulation that sounds really good. At least that we could think of. So yeah, that was the design philosophy on that one.
Yeah, you're hard pressed to find 5 effects. There's 5 effects, right? Yeah,
no, there's only 4.
4. Well, the other effect is awesomeness. So
the other one is a switch.
Yes, it comes with a foot switch. Although frankly, it could not come with a foot switch, and you could leave it on and you'd be A-okay. But I don't use a ton. I've tried to use modulation. I use it for fun. Okay. So I have 3 mentalities of approaching pedals. I have me doing the show in which I'm like, gobble, 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 gobble up all the pedals. Let me try everything. I'm excited about it. I want to try everything. I have hey, I just want to jam out and get, interesting with the music, just kind of playing for the sake of playing at home. And then I also have basically a gig board for different bands that I'm playing in. And invariably, the ones that I'm playing in don't allow for just gobs of modulation yet. Maybe someday I'll get there. But I found that this added just enough extra to it. Though I wouldn't typically use, I wouldn't turn on chorus and be like, there's chorus and make it sound very chorusy for gigging. But I found that the chorus, just a hair on, like you said, like where you don't know that it's on, but something's missing if you turn it off.
Yeah.
That's where I like to set that one. So that was really cool. And then I can pop it on. There is one song that I'm doing that runs a phaser, and so I was like, dude, this is sweet. I don't have to eat up 2 pedal spaces on a board for this. It's a really great idea.
Thank you. Yeah. One thing I really found with the chorus is if you have it, like you're saying, set really low. I played in a 1 guitar band for a while, and using a chorus almost imperceptibly on made your sound just like so much more present when you're the only guitar there to fill up that space. There was no keyboards either, so it was like it was my job to fill up that space, and the chorus worked really well for that.
That's exactly what I'm using it for, man. I've got 1 guitar. It's me.
Yeah, I was.
My apologies.
That's unfortunate.
I was also a lone guitarist in a band setup I was in, and I have a guitar that also plays through a
amplifier.
Yeah, you got the magnetic pickups, and then you have the other pickups.
Actives. EMG active.
No. The piezo.
Tesla.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
So you have an acoustic going and electric at the same time.
yes.
Plus, of course, stereo.
Yeah, you like the chorus. You're a fan of the chorus. But with the kind of stuff you play, it sounds real good. You play a lot of leady, kind of licky stuff.
Yeah.
I don't. I play a lot of 2x4 over the head.
Well,
stuff.
when you're the only guitar player, you're leaning
By
on the
yourself?
bass player. You're leaning on the bass player.
Yes.
To back you up, I guess.
Hopefully not that back-to-back style thing like Poison or something like that, right?
What?
Oh, right. So anyways, super solid build. I love the knobs on those two. I'm a fan of the knurled jazz style knob. Oh, let's see. So if you're looking for these and you haven't seen them before, the one that we were just talking about, the utility knife, literally has a utility knife on it. And it's got 4 knobs, one that selects either flange, chorus, tremolo, or phaser, and 3 knobs at the top with top mount jacks. How's that? I felt like a car salesman. Okay, what do we have next? Oh, this is one that I'm geeking out on lately.
This is the one with the sub blimp marine.
Actinio.
That's right.
What's the name from? Help me out with this.
Okay, so it is a submarine, and the first, I believe, Spanish submarine. That's a drawing of it, and it was called the Actinio.
Interesting. So is a derivative of fish. I don't know if you guys know
there you
that.
go.
Yeah.
I did not.
Yeah.
Wow, thanks.
Ichthus is fish. It's true.
So this is our one clone pedal, and it's a company that was around, I think, 5 to 10 years ago. They made a handful of these, and they were called the Submarine, and it was originally for bass guitarists.
Oh.
They took some pre-orders and maybe had a hard time filling them, and then the company dissolved.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like a handful of them got out into the wild, and the co-owner of Southampton Pedals is a bassist. And he said, we have to get one of these. We have to make it like there are people who have been trying to find this pedal.
Mm-hmm.
So we managed to track one down, and we traced the circuit and made a completely faithful recreation of it. Because the design of the circuit's simple, but it's so good at enhancing certain frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like the compressor I was talking about, this is one of those pedals you turn on, you twist the knobs a bunch of times, and then you say, I don't even know what this is doing. You turn it off.
That's exactly what happened.
And it's like, oh, that's what it's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're not careful, it will pretty radically change your sound. And I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. I shouldn't say if you're not careful, but if you're looking to finesse the sound, really take the time to play away with it. Play away with it. Those words that I was using. So this one has 4 toggles, which is super exciting. 2 of which are minis, which is even more exciting. The itty bitty ones, not the regular size.
We would call those micro toggles.
Micro toggles, whatever. I like those a lot. A volume, a body, and a tone. So just to kind of understand what this pedal's doing, can you walk us through each of those switches to help us better understand? Because it is, if you're just looking at it, you can look at it and say, I don't know what this means.
Yeah. So what you can start with is, if you start with the knobs, volume's pretty explanatory, self-explanatory. We called them body and tone because originally we were going to go with mids and highs, but they're really interactive, and they depend on the position of the knobs. So the 2 other knobs really do control your mid-range and your high-end levels, but it totally is dependent on where everything else is set.
The body and the tone.
There's then, yeah. So then the first switch is an overall boost, and that's just says boost.
Mm-hmm.
The switch
what says sub
beside
2,
that,
right? The first micro switch on the top left.
Yeah, so you're looking actually at a slightly older art version.
I see.
We just got new pedals in maybe 2 months ago. Which would have been after.
Let's talk about the one that I'll pull it up on the website here.
Yeah. Okay, so what would have been called, on the one you have anywhere where it says sub, we replaced with a dash. So that refers to the kind of stock settings, or the switch is not in the circuit. So anywhere where your switch is set to sub or dash, it's basically not doing anything.
Okay. So it's literally like a hyphen, like a dash.
Yeah. So that switch is a boost, which you probably noticed is very significant in terms of level.
Yes.
You can run this pedal into a power amp.
Yeah, for sure.
With that turned on. Yeah.
You could run it into nothing and it would boost it.
Yeah. It's pretty loud. We're thinking about doing a version where that's on a foot switch and has a separate volume control.
Interesting.
But we'll see where we get with that. Then there's a bass boost, which depending on what amp you were using, if you're running guitar, you may not have noticed any effect at all. It's in the 100 hertz range.
Okay.
So it's really meant for, because it was originally a bass pedal, that really brings out the bottom end.
Right.
If you're running it with something like a Marshall, you'll definitely hear it. If you're running it through something like my Supro, you almost can't hear it at all.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm kind of running in the middle between those two. So I did hear it. It was noticeable, but and at first I think I had it on. I was like, ooh, because it immediately makes it sound like way beefier. But then I started messing around with the other things, and it almost started to make it too scoopy. So I backed off that. If you have the older pedal, ladies and gentlemen, it would say ultra bass at the bottom, which can be a little bit scary. So my first inclination was like, I don't want ultra bass, right? I don't know if it's ultra bass, but play around with those. And then bottom left.
Bottom left, we've got the stock setting, or a 250 hertz boost, or a 600 hertz cut, I believe. I'm not looking at it right now.
That's a 3-way
toggle.
toggle.
I get the order.
So the first two are 2-way toggles. This is a 3-way toggle.
Yep. And so just a little bit more, playing with your frequency range there. And then the last toggle, which is my favorite, has the 1 kilohertz boost on it, which is like the perfect lead tone, or cutting through the mixed tone, or I just always leave it on.
Right. And then sub for that would be no boost at all.
Correct.
And then you also have one that says 250 hertz dip.
Right. So that's a cut at 250, which for guitar, it'll kind of thin out the bottom end a little bit. It's a lot more noticeable on bass.
Okay. What is, if I wanted to look at, I mean, to a certain degree, this is a very, how do I say, constructionist version of a parametric EQ.
Yeah,
that's how I'm kind of looking at it. It's like it's not as finite as a parametric EQ, but it gives you a lot of options. So it's sort of, that's what I mean by constructionist. So I don't know how else to explain it. Tony, help me out with this.
I would call it deconstructed.
Okay, that's fine.
Parametric EQ.
That's totally, that's good. That's good. A deconstructed parametric EQ. If the guy on the microphone wanted to turn this into sort of a mid boost, what do you think the best way to do that would be?
Yeah, I'd put the 1 kilohertz boost on, and then I'd dial up your body tone a little. I'd take your volume all the way down and turn the boost switch on, and then very slowly turn the volume up.
Okay, interesting. All right.
One thing I have to be really careful with these is I have to, when I ship them, make sure that the switches and knobs are in such a way that when you plug it in for the first time, you don't deafen everybody.
Right, or blow your, yeah. That's okay. So that's helpful. My settings are pretty close to what you just said, but there's a little bit of an adjustment that I can do that I think I want to dial that in when I get home. So, all right. So that's a great pedal. I really enjoy that. And I notice when I turn it off, it just doesn't have, it's like a multiplier. That's the way I was trying to explain it. Actually, I think I explained that on the last episode. That this is, it like multiplies. Yeah, I did say that.
Maybe you could call it the inchworm.
Yeah. What? I don't even know what that means. But anyways.
2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8.
This from 1956. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, back when I was born.
Anyways, I was trying to explain this. It felt like a multiplier, which I likened to like a signal on top of a signal. It just makes it a little bit more or something. I don't know. Hey, everybody, tell me what you think this is. I'm digging a hole here. Anyways, okay. Rowing with one oar. Okay. Next, we have the boosted fuzz.
Yeah, so I wanted to play around with a couple classic fuzz circuits and see if there was anything in there that I thought was interesting. And one thing I knew I wanted to do was have it be silicone based, just for the stability, the ability to daisy chain, and the ability to get like a consistent supply of transistors. So I got some fairly low gain silicone transistors, which would have, the lower gain you go in general, the more it'll sound like a vintage transistor. There's some things that will never be the same, but in general. And I breadboarded up a classic fuzz face. I threw a Rangemaster in front of it, and then I just started tweaking out parts until I got something that I thought worked. And I put some dials in there to control different resistors in the circuit until I got something. My goal was I wanted to be able to do conventional fuzz sounds, and then almost like the ZVEX Fuzz Factory, get into like the grittier or more boosted, hence the name, fuzz face sounds.
Yeah.
And what I really wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that why I put the treble booster in front of it originally was to make sure that my Strat or my Les Paul into this thing would work. And what that knob ended up, this is the boost knob, or the pre-knob, depending on the version you have. What this ended up acting like is almost like a bass control, as well as an overall gain control. So what we ended up with was, anybody who's built enough of these looking at it would say, well, that's a Rangemaster into a fuzz face with some modifications. And that's really what it is. But it does the Velcro-y fuzz thing that I really like, kind of exactly how I was looking at to, like more consistently, repeatedly, and with different types of guitars.
So that was a great description. I like Rangemaster type stuff. So knowing that was sort of a catalyst for this design is kind of cool intel. Velcro up the wazoo, I might say. when I'm playing this in, I was like, whoa, holy moly. Yeah. It was like, I turned the thing on, and it definitely was like, I had a little piece of Velcro right here. Tony told me to play with the Velcro, do a thing. I was kind of using it alongside another fuzz, and then I tried it with the Rat. And when I put it with the Rat and just kind of tapped it, that sounded really cool. And it definitely made an impact. With the bias, I think, was it all the way up? It's almost, it's noise.
So what that bias knob does is it's controlling the voltage to the main transistor in the fuzz face.
Right.
So if it's at noon, that is kind of what a factory fuzz face would come like. If you go above noon, you're biasing it hotter. So depending on your situation, like if you put it too hot, you're going to get radio interference, or if you have all the knobs up, it's going to kind of just squeal or make noise.
Right.
But then you can use that bias. If you go below noon, it's going to start really starving that transistor, and that's where you're going to get the really gated sounds.
Yeah, that's what.
And it also makes it totally quiet. Like I can play single coils on stage with that with the bias low, and it makes no noise unless you're putting something through it.
This is true, and to the point where I had to check to see if it was on, because there's no, and I was playing. I had play with the Telecaster at home as well. And so I happen to be playing with the Telecaster, which everybody knows has got a little juice to it just by itself if it's on. And I thought something was wrong with the pedal. I kept when I plugged it in, I'm really good at this stuff. And so I was like, hey, this thing's not on. Is the jack not, what happened? And then I was like, no, it's already in. Well, let me see what happens. And it's like, and I'm like,
plugged it directly into the wall socket.
Yes. So anyways, those are really, really fun. Fun little pedals to play around with. I know that you have a couple other, you got one called a fifth gear overdrive, and the imposter distortion, and then like 2 that you have sold out. So
Yeah.
What happens when you sell a pedal out? Are you just never making more, or what's going on with that?
Can't get the parts, or
Okay, so we made a decision pretty early on that we didn't want to do pre-orders. So what we'll do is when we're out of inventory, we will just mark it as sold out until we're back in stock. All our dealers still have them. So we've put our dealers on our website. So if you want to get any of the pedals we're out of stock on, just contact them. But usually out of stock just means we're waiting for enclosures to arrive, and they're sitting in Canadian Customs. And we will sit here.
I gotcha.
So the other 2 that were out of stock, one is the All Things Equal. And what that is it's always on. It's a buffer with 2 volume channels. So the foot switch switches between your 2 channels. So you can have one at unity and one at a slight boost. And what I use that for is for gigs with a Strat and a Les Paul. I'll have one set up for my Strat, one for the Les Paul. And what that does is it makes sure that your gain staging stays consistent across your guitars. And it's also got a built-in low gain overdrive. So if you want an always on,
sounds like a rad pedal, man.
Yeah, it's a hard one to sell when you can't explain it to someone. But then when you do explain it to someone, they're like, oh, I get it. And I understand why I would need that.
Well, and that's a very common setup. I mean, in my band, I'm running 3 different guitars. I'm running dual humbuckers, dual P90s, and then a Tele Custom setup. So something like that would be pretty nice.
Does that one just have a single out, or does it have a dual out? I can't tell from the photo.
It's just one out. All our pedals are one in, one out.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of that stereo business.
Well, no, it's not so much stereo, but if you were splitting your signal between 2 amplifiers,
yes,
the buffer amp really works well.
Yes,
we've talked about doing a larger version. There's diminishing returns on how much you can charge for a buffer pedal.
Yeah, exactly. First, you have, as you said, you have to explain what it does.
Yeah. Well, but this is a boost, and this has got a lot going on in this pedal.
Yeah, keep your eye on that one. I can't say too much, but
okay,
a month or 2.
All right.
I'm looking at something on my workbench right now.
Our eye will be kept, or something. I don't know.
My eye will be upon it.
Yeah, but definitely when you get ready to launch anything new, make sure you go in on the Facebook group and let everybody know, man.
Absolutely.
But let us know first.
And then our other out of stock one is our newest pedal. It's the Indie Dream. So it is a pretty gritty, fuzzy overdrive on one half, and the other half is a digital reverb delay. So you can run them individually or together. And what we were kind of going for was like the stadium sound in a box.
Nice.
Yeah.
That made me think of one of my favorite bands, Oasis. You know, like I could totally rock that. I would be very happy.
Yeah.
That and a Sheraton? Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll be happy.
Who's Oasis?
Oh, I've got a Sheraton.
Shut it.
Do you need a Sheraton?
Anyways.
Because I've got a Sheraton.
What?
Are you going to share it?
You have a Sheraton?
Yeah.
Where?
At the shop.
Are you going to share it?
I have one, but I'll play yours too.
All right. Mine's gold and black.
I want to check it out.
Yeah.
It's just natural and gold.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. Enough about guitars.
They're sharing their Sheratons.
So let's see here. That sounds really cool. So that's just, you're trying to build more of those right now. But if you want one, if you're listening and you're like, I got to have that Indie Dream, you can go to one of the dealers here and get it. Right?
Yeah, and I think all our dealers are on Reverb too. So if you search them on Reverb, you should be able to find any of our pedals.
Perfect.
And some of our old ones.
Perfect. Yeah, I definitely have seen the Imposter around, but that one is in stock. And then you have the Fifth Gear Overdrive.
Yeah, so that is the very first pedal I built probably 4 years ago. It's been modified a bunch of times since then. It's still our best seller. It's a single transistor overdrive. So it's a pretty, I hate to say amp-like, but it really is.
It's not a bad thing.
No, I know it's not a bad thing. It's just you hear it everywhere. That and transparent. Mm-hmm. So the gain knob, the original version we made was just one knob, and it was the gain knob. And that was back when this was heavily inspired by the old Electro Distortion, which there's a couple other companies doing versions of that right now. And then we modified it. The heat knob actually biases the transistor, so it goes from kind of an overdrivey sound that's really natural to a really fizzy, not fizzy, but kind of fuzzy, fizzy sound. And then we put a volume on because it was getting out of hand. When you got the gain up and you added in the heat, it was kind of unusable. So we put a passive volume bleed on there as well. And yeah, as I said, that's still our best seller. All our pedals are designed to work really well on bass, and that one in particular, bassists seem to be going crazy for.
That's awesome. And it's cool graphics too. Cool muscle car.
Yeah, our graphics guy he does a great job of taking my really bad like ramblings and scribbled designs and turning them into some pretty cool art.
Nice.
And he's based he's pretty close to you guys, I think. He's in Cleveland.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not
I
far.
believe, yeah.
Hello.
Hello, Cleveland.
There's a lot going on guitar wise in Ohio. I'll tell you that, everybody.
It's amazing.
Yes. So anyways, welcome to ohio.com, I guess. Plug, I don't know.
/ guitars.
Yeah, yep. Seriously. Cool. Well, thanks for running through your pedals for us. And more importantly, we'd like to know, how the heck did you get into all this mess?
Yeah, it's a good question, and sometimes I don't really understand it. I'd say 2014 is when I first started building. I had joined a local band, and it was a cover band, and we just started playing a ton of songs, and it was like every week we'd add 5 or 6 new songs that we wanted to try. And I was right in the middle of being very obsessed with pedals at that point. Mm-hmm. So I was probably, I don't know, I was buying 2 or 3 pedals a week. I'd play them for a couple of weeks, and then I'd put them up on the forum and get 2 new pedals. And eventually I was playing around with microcontrollers and electronics outside of music at that point. And I said, well, let's try building some pedals. And lucky for me, the first one I tried worked. I plugged it in the first time and it worked. Because if I hadn't, I think the whole thing wouldn't have happened.
Wow.
So I started building clones for myself, putting them on my board. And then after maybe a year and a half of building clones, I started tweaking the clones a little bit. And one of those clones I was tweaking turned out to be the 5th gear. And at that point, I was doing this method of graphics where you print out your graphics on printer paper, and then you put basically glue on your pedal. You squish the paper against it, let it dry, and then wash off the paper, and the toner transfers.
Right. It's sort of like a Mod Podge kind of thing, except different.
Yeah, and it just doesn't look very good, and you have chunks of paper left in the finish.
Yeah.
And I was liking this pedal a lot, and I wanted to have a version for myself with graphics on it. But all the graphics people won't do it unless you order at least 10.
Right.
So I thought, well, I'll order 10 and I'll see if I can sell some locally. And I did. And then somebody from a forum asked if they could get one. So I ordered 10 more. And then I ordered, I think, 20 more. And then it was like, it just kind of built off that. And then, eventually I had a couple other designs I liked. And now here we are with 7 designs and 4 more on the bench right now.
Wow, 4 more on the bench.
Yeah, we're working on some deluxe versions of some of our pedals, and then we're thinking about some different other stuff. I always have something going on the bench, though, and that doesn't mean it's going to become anything that we actually want to sell.
Right.
We had one a while back that it sounded pretty cool, but I think it had 150 parts in it. And there was no way that I wanted to get into that, given that it's a hobby.
What are you, Mike Trombley?
Yeah.
Red House effects.
Mike's an engineer as well.
8,000 parts minimum.
Right.
But we say that in jest because he's a good man and he makes some pretty sweet stuff. But anyways, yes, diversion. So that all became an accident.
The great thing about building guitar pedals is that once you've put in the work at the front to kind of learn how they work, the money cost to start building them is really not all that high.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a guitar, you have to buy some pretty expensive stuff to get started.
True.
If you already have a soldering iron and you've already been building pedals for yourself, you know, you can do a run of production pedals for, you know, an amount of money that if nobody wants to buy them, you're not in trouble.
Right. That's solid advice. That's pretty sweet. So you got did you have much I guess electronics knowledge before that?
Not really. As I said, I'd done more on the programming side with microcontrollers and just playing around with silly stuff around my house. I did some electronics courses in university, but we didn't have all that much in our degree. So I knew the basics. I knew a lot more of the math than I knew the actual how to make circuits work.
So you fell into, backing up a step from that, what got you into like just even wanting to play with pedals and guitars and junk?
Yeah. So my first amp was a PV Rage something awful. It was real small and really quiet. And I had my Strat and my PV and a Marshall jackhammer, which is this kind of okay distortion pedal. And I loved that thing. I got it for Christmas when I was in high school, and my high school band's like 2 albums, that thing was on all the time. Before the second album, I think I got a wah pedal that I used really inappropriately all the time.
So was the PV Rage, is that the block lettering? Where the PV's a black? Okay.
Not the pointy PV.
Right.
No, this is like the
Rage 158. Was that?
That's exactly what it is.
Right,
I think I remember those.
Yeah.
I think that it was bad. I think it was like I finally convinced my parents to buy me a guitar, and as we're leaving the store, the guy probably said, "Well, you're going to need to plug that into something." I said, "What's the cheapest thing you have?"
Right.
Well, we got these PVs over here.
Yeah, they're the rage right now.
I played gigs with that amp. Right. It makes me unhappy to think about now.
Dang. Well, that's fun. You got a good story fun, back there.
You had fun.
And was that the Strat that was that your first guitar you said, or?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and it's I've had 4 or 5 guitars since then, but it has always stuck around.
Cool.
It's just a good playing, and there's a guy out of Hamilton, which is about an hour from here, that does hand-wound pickups. His name's J.S. Moore, and he does killer vintage spec pickups. Not to step on anyone's toes here.
Oh my goodness! Jared's toes are all exposed.
He's been around for a while. I've seen his stuff for a long time. So no, of course not. You're not stepping on toes.
He makes some very cool stuff, and I've got some of his like vintage style Strat pickups in it, and it just sounds awesome.
Nice,
awesome,
super cool, man. What kind of music are you like playing these days? What are you into?
We were like back when we were gigging more. It was classic rock or modern rock, or we started getting more into alternative. And I bought a synth, and we tried to go that route. These days, I'm doing more ambient stuff, but really more than anything, I'm just turning on a bunch of pedals and seeing what kind of cool sounds I can make in my basement before my wife says that I've woken up our kid.
Nice. I have guys, fellas, just jump in if anytime if you like. But I did have another a quick question. What would you like to see happen in the world of pedals that you could either help maybe control or that you would like to see changed that might affect the way that you're doing things? Anything come to mind?
Oh boy, that's a good one. I would say the biggest thing that I have liked to see and would like to see more of is these smaller companies who can make just like totally bonkers pedals in small enough quantities that it doesn't matter to their bottom line, if that makes any sense. I don't see a company like, let's say, Boss or maybe even Earthquaker at this point making totally crazy pedals if there's not a place for them. Right. So like somebody right now is screaming, have you seen the Data Corruptor? It's crazy. And it totally is. But it's also like, it's a very usable pedal for a lot of people. Right. There's some pedals out there that are, and you could say these are worse, but there's definitely pedals that have more unique designs that can make just the craziest ambient noises, which are a ton of fun. But I kind of like how the industry is getting to the point where you can make very small runs of pedals and you can still make professional looking pedals. You can make pedals with high quality components and like well-built circuit boards. But you don't need like a machine shop to make custom enclosures, and you don't need to have a contract for 100,000 of some part to be able to do this. So what I see as a builder, and this doesn't really answer your question, but for the end, to get to the end product, there's a lot of services that go into that. So there's the people who make the enclosures and the people who make the knobs. And all those businesses are great. But it would be cool to see a little more innovation in that space. So like being able to take these really cool ideas and put them into different enclosures or put them into something that looks totally different or has a different format. There's some companies who do like really cool woodwork enclosures.
Yeah.
And you have to have, Yeah, they have some really cool stuff. Or I think it's Copper Sound they're the ones that do the ones that look like guitars.
Yeah.
That was our last interview.
Well, actually, it's going to be the one that's going up live in a couple
weeks.
Yeah.
So their stuff looks super cool. There's some people who are doing really cool stuff there, but for the most part, everyone's constrained by some limitations, which is like you have to get a patch cable into this thing, you have to get a power jack into it, and everyone owns one of 4 styles of pedal boards. So there's not, the way I see it, there's not too much wiggle room in terms of how you lay out a guitar effect. And I don't really have an answer, but I think it is something that could definitely, we might see some change in, but there's so many vintage effects right now that people are going to want to own, and you're not going to change the format of them. Right. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have a great answer to your question, really.
No, that's helpful. I mean, I liked hearing your perspective.
Yeah, that to me that made a lot of sense actually, and because when I see all these boutique pedals, somebody opened up the pedal hydrant, and it's still spitting out pedals like it's like instant mud. I mean, there's so many pedals out there.
What's instant mud?
It's when you open a hydrant and it starts to just flow out of the hydrant into the grass. It's instant mud.
Okay,
all of a sudden.
All
anyway, right. And it's a good thing because the more the merrier. But I like what you said about the enclosure and the jack thing. You see a lot of the same enclosures and parts and whatnots on a lot of different pedals. But it's the innards and how they're designed is to me that separates, the men from the boys, I guess, the way they're designed, and the artwork too.
Well, that's something that I was going to actually hit on. I when you brought up the Zap machine, and we're going to be having, spoiler alert, we're going to have Champion Lecky on real soon. And, there's a couple, Matthews Effects is doing limited run artwork. And I think, like, for me as a collector, I love the idea of getting limited run pedals because of their artwork. If I already like the actual effect, whether it's, hey, we're going to do, 100 in Speedboat Sparkle, or we're going to do 100 by this with this particular artist, or something like that. I think there's a lot of room to do things in there. And that, you hear people talk about sort of the plateau of pedal building. It's like there's only so many overdrives we can make, or fuzzes, or whatever it is. And you know what? Everybody's going to come out with new ones, and we're going to keep buying them. That's cool. But if for some reason you don't necessarily want to chase down the angle of I have to create a new circuit, or I have to create something that's completely bonkers, like just maybe experiment with the actual aesthetic of the pedal and in limited runs. Like that makes it desirable too. And it's just my thought, my thinking. Not for everybody, but whatever. That's what I would do if I was a pedal builder. But I'm not.
I think that in general, pretty much any of the smaller manufacturers who get big enough that they're well known will start to do that. And you see it where, like you said, with Matthews doing the hand painted stuff, it just makes sense. If somebody doesn't like how your effect looks but likes the way it sounds, you can release another variant of it without having to go through the design. You just put new art on it, and you could get a whole new set of customers.
Yeah,
and
totally.
If you have like a really loyal customer base, you get people who buy it even if they already have the original version.
Right. Exactly. My thoughts exactly. You just said them. Hey, man, this has been super duper fun listening to your sort of background and figuring out where you came from and everything. I appreciate you sharing that with us. We're going to get on down with
Would You Rather.
Boom.
Okay.
I don't know why I added that. Sorry.
This week's Would You Rather. Would you rather have a pedal board with 4 boutique pedals of your choice? Or would you rather have a multi-effects pedal board, a processor, and you have to invest the same amount of money?
Okay.
From a portability standpoint, I guess sometimes the all-in-one is pretty good. But my experience has been that you have maybe more options and maybe a wider array of sounds from the individual pedals. So I'm going to go with the individuals.
Someone might argue that.
Whoa.
Someone might. Who would that be?
Individuals. 4 individual.
No, the individuals.
The individual boutique pedals. All right. Jared.
Most of my guitar playing days, I would have chosen the multi-pedal. The multi-effects processor.
Yeah.
Because of the utility part of it. However, because now that I'm in this podcast, in which I really, really, really enjoy, I'm definitely going to go with the 4 boutique pedals.
Okay.
Especially because, heck, if one breaks, you still have 3 more that work. If the multi-effects unit breaks, you're screwed.
You're screwed.
Right.
Okay. Interesting. I'm kind of surprised by that. I really thought you'd say...
Nah, the boutique pedals is actually the better.
All right.
It's more reliable, especially.
Hamish?
Yeah, so I'd probably just take my 4 on the floor, to be honest.
Capital idea.
But I think that point is a really good one. I've gotten to gigs before where you have a pedal not work, and you just take it off your board and you're fine.
Yep.
But if you show up and that one thing's not working, you're kind of out of luck.
Yeah.
The other thing that always concerns me about those multi-effects things is if you want to try something new, you can't just trade out your old fuzz pedal. I'm concerned about the long-term value. And
totally fair.
I just don't know 15 years from now how many of them are still going to work.
I love pedals, man.
Yeah.
I'm going for pedals.
I was going to say, what do you pick?
And I get into the aesthetic of them. I like
unique.
I like switches, and I like
Really?
Well,
yeah. That's what I'm doing. We thank you so much for being on our little show here. We are greatly appreciative of your time, and thank you for sharing all of your thoughts and knowledge with the rest of the listeners here.
Great looking pedals, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Tony, do we have a couple folks to thank?
Way back when I first started here at the podcast,
Yes.
Settle in, folks.
I was asked to do a little segment concerning Patreon sponsorships.
Yes.
And I've enjoyed that time that I get to spend and speak heart to heart with the podcast listeners out there.
Yes.
We're gonna talk.
I'm not giving you a raise.
We're gonna. How about a T-shirt? We're gonna mention a few people who we call our executive producers.
Yes.
But I don't think that we should forget all of the other troopers out there who maybe aren't at that level, but could be if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But we've got levels that are really, really affordable, and it's just a nice way for people to show their support. Go on to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs.
That's right.
And you'll get all the details you need there. We'd all like to personally thank our executive producers for the support of our podcast. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's go. Tom Barazin, Martin Cliff, David Wolfson, Matt Brammer, Carlos Mancha, Pete Marshall, Derek Fitzer, Robin Smith, John Daly, Oliver Gonzalez, Sean S., Chris Kearney, John Anglin, Robert Marfleet, and Alex Leggett. So if you would like to become an executive producer, and Jared, I think what is the number one benefit of being an executive producer?
You get to have your name said on the thing.
Are you kidding? Do I have to write this on the wall?
You get to have your name read on the thing.
So if you would like to have your name read on the thing, as Jared so poignantly points out,
maybe that's what you do.
head over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs and find out how.
That's right. And Hamish, how can people get a hold of your quality gear?
Yeah, so we're at www.southamptonpedals.com. We're on Reverb, or you can check us out on Facebook or Instagram.
Cool. And just for some clarification, it is, if you look at it, it's Southampton. There's no double H in there. It's not Southampton. So don't try to spell that out. Tony.
Yes.
How can people get a hold of you?
Pickguardian.com and also through the various social media.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Jared.
You can get a hold of me for pickup questions, products, pickup rewinds or repairs. I like the
returns.
Right. Thanks, Tony. And yes, I do have a return policy. As long as I'm alive, you will have your pickup repaired or
repaired, fixed. It's just whatever. Guaranteed.
Yep, for life.
Yep.
Jared, Jared, at BrandonWoundPickups.com is my email. And BrandonWoundPickups.com is the website.
Yeah.
Check it out.
And hit him up. He's got shirts too, so get some of that action.
Nice shirts.
Hey, everybody, we'd like to remind you that at Reverb.com, you'll find a marketplace just for musicians all over the world. You can buy, sell, make offers, and negotiate with complete protection, whether you're selling from home or if music gear is your day job, like Jared and Tony.
Yay!
There are millions of listings online already, and it's free to list yours too. Join the musicians marketplace at Reverb.com. All right, everybody. It's been great. Hamish, thank you for your time. We will talk to everyone later. Subscribe!
Yeah.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.